Oh my gosh. Well, I was on the verge of having a huge panic attack. It was during the National Student Advertising Competition. Our client was Wiener Schnitzel, and during the entire trip, I just isolated myself, kept my distance, and I just didn't want to interact with anyone. And so Samiha was a part of the team, and she sent me a text when we got back to U of I on campus asking, "Hey, are you okay? You seem a bit off. Do you want to talk?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's meet up." And so we sat down, and she asked me, "Nick, so what's going on?" And I basically summarized. Um, I told her I feel like I'm always putting my mask on, burying myself in work, and not really being open to people, not showing people who I am, because part of the reasons I don't really know who I am yet, and I wasn't really confident in myself. And I asked her, I don't want to be fake and just talk to people just because they might be able to get me a job. But do I have to do that in order to get a job, in order to find one? And she looked at me and she said, "Of course not." And what you're about to hear is the same story that she told me. And to Samiha, thank you so much for being one of the people to help me start my journey of finding the confidence within myself to go up to people and say, "Hi, my name is Nick Boyven, and right now I am the co-host of the AAF podcast, Preserve the Journey. And this is one of the first recordings. We did this on May 4th, 2019. So please sit back and enjoy."
This is me testing it. I love popcorn that has extra butter. Hello. Well, this is me going beyond my octave. Oh, it's going higher each time. I think it's working. How about you?
Perfect. All right. Welcome back to the AAF podcast, Preserve the Journey. This is going to be a special episode. Today we have Samiha. Samiha, please tell us about yourself.
Woo!
Woo!
Gotta be your own hype man, right?
Exactly.
Whoever I'm talking to, hello. My name is Samiha. I'm currently a senior. Well, actually, no. I mean, I'm leaving.
You're graduating. Yeah,
so
you're done.
Am I a senior? I don't know. But I was studying communication here during my time at U of I. I'm moving to California for good.
Whoa, Cali.
I'm from Chicago. Gotta say it twice because we have people in this university who are liars. That's what it is. They will tell you they are from Chicago when they're not. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Biggest Chicago pride.
Perfect. Love it. Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm going to be the only host for this episode. Okay, and I have 3 more years left, so let's do this.
You've been doing very, very well, though, for your first year. So
oh, thank
huge
you.
Respect to you,
well,
genuinely.
Only because I've had great mentors like Nuriel and you. I'm serious, being real genuine.
Let me cry. Let me cry a week before I graduate. Why not? I'm not even gonna cry during graduation, but here I am.
So let's dive into first a little bit about AAF. Of you've only started AAF last year, and look at you now. You got MPMS. You're working at Apple, bro.
Yep. Yeah. I did only start last year as a general member, so it's been interesting. It's for sure been interesting.
So you hear a lot of advice of when you're looking for a job, go to the career fairs, research up on the people, and be very specific about your cover letters, follow up with the interviews. But you kind of took a different route to kind of talk to these job recruiters. And so dive into a little bit about your time at MPMS. Well, what is MPMS at first?
Yeah, for sure. So MPMS, it's a program. It's the acronym for Most Promising Multicultural Students. Essentially, people that are qualified are those that have some sort of multicultural background. You can be mixed with something else, as long as you have a little bit of color in you is what it is. And it's for those. So you have to do 5 essays.
Wow.
5 essays. They're all about, why is diversity important within the advertising industry, within media. And to be honest with you, so when I was actually told to apply for MPMS by like my friends within AAF, by Armando, by my friend Enrique. They were like, just do it, because I really didn't have any intentions. I'm not like the biggest fan of like these wedge programs just because of my political correctness side, like I'm like, affirmative action, no, like just all these sort of like programs meant to serve as a leverage for people of color. But I did it anyways because one of the prompts was, why is diversity important? And like I went off. There was a little bit of swearing actually in my essay.
There
like,
you go.
I went off. I was just saying how, it's important, not even necessarily because of like where you come from, but because you need people in certain groups. You need people from the LGBTQ community. You need people who are part of political activist groups. You need people who freaking do goat yoga. You need all of them because it's been proven to the point with all scholars, all of these studies that diversity enhances organizations. So I went off, I called them out about their H&M scandal. They had I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about H&M.
It was they released a fashion line 2 summers ago. It was all about like jungles, just, having fun. But the problem was it was a young black model child, probably 8 years old, 9 years old, wearing a green shirt that said jungle on it. No, no, absolutely not. So I called them out about that. I'm like, had you had someone of either black descent, someone who was either well-known, well-rounded within black history, you would have avoided this. So I went off about that. I talked about the Pepsi incident with Kendall Jenner, solving activism by providing a can of Pepsi to the police officer. No, as someone who like protests all the time, I can tell you, if I were to give a Chicagoan police the 12 a can of Coke, no, I'm gonna still get myself beat for protesting. So I went off with that, and like I said, I even swore. So I went in not expecting to get it. I'm like, I'm not getting this. I'm literally doing this because I know that at least someone on that side will read these essays. They saw something. Whatever they saw my wax self like, oh, she has a point. And so I got it, headed over there to New York, me and 49 others. I had the honor of going with Pierre Armando of AAF. So we kind of tackled it together. And yeah, once we got there, it was your typical capitalism circle. You network with people. You win an award. I will say though, like it seems like I'm undermining it. Absolutely not. It is a great program. It really did get me where I want to, or not where I want to be, but at least a huge leverage in my life, and I'm thankful for it. You do need a recommendation letter from Steve Hall, so I'm also thankful for him. He like hyped me up. That's what it was. And when I got over there, there was a huge recruitment expo. I'm not sure the amount of detail you want me to go into this.
Exactly. When you got there, you got to the recruitment expo. Like, this is like MPMS, multicultural. Yes. Talk about the recruiters. Like, what did you see there?
Okay, for sure. So, yeah. So, it's a week-long program. It's a whole recruitment, like immersion, essentially. And there's one day where it's called the Recruiters Expo. You go in, it's a ballroom in the hotel that we were living in, and it's about like 20 to 30 recruiters, but all of them are like the big ones. We had Facebook, we had Amazon, we had Apple, and then we had all the big names in the advertising industry, McCann, BBDO, Leo, literally all the gigantic ones throughout the nation. They were all there. They wanted to, meet the 50 students or whatever. And I hate recruiting, or I hate the concept of networking. I hate all of it. You know this personally, Nick, because you just know me. I deem networking as fake, For me. For other people, it works. You know, they love it. They thrive off of it. I have friends who like absolutely love doing that. I'm like, yeah, go off. But for me, I'm very much Chirag, yes, he loves it. And you know, I respect that. Like, you go off, king. But for me, I'm very much so, when I meet someone, I want to know your deepest, darkest secret right then and there. I'm not a, hi, what's your name? What's your, who's your alma? No, I don't care. What? Why are you telling me this? I don't care. So in a way, I have a huge problem in being, like, fake. That's what it is. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do small talk. I'm a huge, big talker. I'm really all or nothing. I want to get to know you for you. And networking, recruiting, that whole world, it's like very much so, in my eyes, like, man, I'm about to approach this human being in efforts of getting a job. What the heck? No. So this expo comes along, and, you know, I did try in the with the first few companies, and I started getting frustrated because I was like, I'm trash at this because it's not me. It's not me. This like whole like professional side, like even right now I'm not being professional with you. Like I'm just not, like, when it comes to like my verbiage, my jargon, it's just not professional. I talk very whack. And I was supposed to oppress that in a way. So it got to a point where I was like standing in the middle of the expo, and Steve Hall, he like comes, he was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, this is annoying. This isn't for me, dog. I'm a dip. And then he was like, no, stop. Like, you're worthy of being here. And I'm like, I'm not even talking about that. I ain't even talking about being worthy or not. I was just like, how do you do that? How do you just go up to someone and go, oh, I need a job? What? No. Like, tell me about your favorite donut. Tell me about a time. Like, you know, like, whatever. So I was standing in the middle, and then he ended up taking me to one of the recruiters and introduced me. He was like, oh, this is, one of mine, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I talked to her, and then he was like, Samiha, just, like, do your thing, like, be yourself, talk to people, don't talk to people, be yourself, it's fine. And I was like, ugh, you guys all say that, but you know you mean, like, don't be yourself with a hint of, like, professionalism, and that's just not me at that. Whatever. Did that, got frustrated, and I was like, I was just looking around the room, and this program being a multicultural student one, out of the whole room, there were like 3-4 people who looked like they identified as people of color. The rest of the recruiters, I mean, from what it looked like, they did not seem like they were people of color. So that was very, very interesting to me. I wouldn't describe it as like ironic, but just like, oh, we're here in, in a environment in proximity where it's all about, like leveraging, helping those of POC, helping those that like don't necessarily have the opportunities at first hand. Yet the people we're talking to can never relate to us. That's just what it is at the end. But the two that were like very much so clearly like people of color, they were from a certain agency, and I approached them, and they were women, and I approached them, and I was like, I just want to say, from the looks of it, thank you for being here. You guys are the only people of color women here that are of woman right now, and I just want to tell you that I see that, and just also as a person of color who's also a woman, thank you. And I was literally like, I was going to walk away. I just legit wanted to say that and just do my own thing. And one of the recruiters, she was like, she started tearing up. And I was like, oh. I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. And she was like,
I don't know what to do.
I was like, I just made a grown woman cry. She was like, like, thank you for saying that. We know that, but it's always nice hearing that. And so they both sat me down, and we just started talking, like, about life. I don't even think I gave them my resume. We were just genuinely talking about life, what it's like being people of color, being women, trying to break gates in the world of media, because one came from a Latinx background. She was of Puerto Rican, a Latina. and the other recruiter, she was Black American. Those were their identities. So in the world of media, you're usually white, right? And then me being South Asian, what am I doing in media? Nah, I'm supposed to be a doctor according to stereotypes, right? So we were talking about the hardships of that. And, they were just the greatest, women I probably ever met in the corporate world. They kept in touch with me, told me, to apply, come to their agency, all that. I saw them again at another career fair and gave them a hug. Then, we moved forward. They were just doing really anything they can to not only get me in the agency that they wanted me to be in, but also just to check up on me. And you don't always have people doing that, right? So that's probably the greatest thing I've taken away from MPMS, aside from getting a job. It really is that. But yeah, that was my experience at the Recruiters Expo.
And so, I love that story of how honest you were, and when you walked up to the recruiter and yo, you're one of the only people I see here that's not.
Yeah.
And you just came genuine from the heart, and I think looking at that perspective, that's something that we don't. A lot of people are trying to be oh, act like yourself, but we have to be a bit professional.
Right.
And so there's another story that you told me a while back of how you walked up to someone that you didn't even know was a job recruiter.
Yeah.
And please tell me her response, because that was gold.
So this actually wasn't at the Recruiters Expo. It was one of the other, like I said, it was a 5-day program for MPMS. So it was, I think, the second day. So the third day is Recruiters Expo. The second day, it was a workshop day.
Yeah.
You figure out your brand and all that. There was a minute where we had a break. And it was lunchtime. It was snack time. And your girl, I'm thick. I love food, specifically desserts. So I'm doing my thing. I see this entree, this table full of snacks, and there's this brownie-looking thing. It had brown bits and pieces. I don't know. It looked ugly. And I literally went I know I'm not swearing in this, but what the F is that? I say that out loud. And so the person next to me, crazy young looking girl, she was like, I don't know, but you try it first and then you tell me. And so I tried it. I'm like, oh, wait, and then I swore again. I swear a lot. So the fact that I haven't sworn yet, how long has it been? 15 minutes? Wow, a record. Amazing. I swore again. I was like, bleep, this is good. And then, we started talking. And like I said, she looked insanely young. And so I thought she was one of the other MPMSers because it was the second day, so there were still people still coming in because people had finals, exams, whatever. And so I just thought it was another MPMSer that I didn't meet, but nope. It ended up being the so I asked her, I'm like, oh, what do you want to do in advertising? And then she was like, oh, I recruit for Apple. And this was me mid-bite with my brownie. I love that brownie. I gotta thank it for everything. I need to find it oh my god. Anyways, and I went, oh bleep, oh bleep. My bad. I am so sorry. I was getting ready to code switch because that's what we're taught to do, POC especially, or not even POC, just students. We're taught to immediately code switch, get that service voice back on. And so I was getting ready to do that. And she literally went, don't you dare code switch on me. I liked you for your personality. Keep it that way. And I was like, okay, good. Because honestly, I was going to have a hard time going back to you already saw me for me. This is what you're getting. So we kept in touch. And she brought me in to interview in California during spring break. 8 interviews later with a lot of the people of the team that I would have potentially been working with. 3 weeks later, I got the job. So I will now be a social coordinator on the account of Apple, taking care of some of their campaigns, which I'm really, really excited about. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess the morale or what you're trying to get out of this is I was myself, and I really was hired because of my personality. Because I'm also thinking about it, I also don't think I gave her my resume, because when we met, I'm pretty sure, I think she just told me hey, if you're interested, email me and send me legit a paragraph of what you want to do. That's all she wanted. I don't think she even looked at my resume. When I went there, the people that I was interviewing with, the 8 other folks that I would be working with, they had a printout of my LinkedIn. And then I think, my resume is on my LinkedIn, so I'm assuming that they printed that out themselves, but it's like I never even gave them anything. So 110%, they hired me for my personality, which I'm more than humble for, more than grateful for. So that was that.
I love it because it literally started with the brownie.
It literally started with the brownie. The brownie was like, okay, the color, it was just so ugly.
Isn't a brownie just one color? It's just a brown.
No, see, that's the thing though. Like, it didn't look like a brownie. God dang it. Okay, it was like this tan square thing with black. Like, I hate raisins, so it looked like raisins. It was just ugly. It was just ugly, but it was so good. And I got a job out of it. So keep your sweet tooth, folks. That is what I'm gonna say. People try to like brush down their sweet tooth, and I'm like, no, it'll get you a job.
Exactly, and just trying new things, and I love that because you told me those 2 stories a while ago, and like that's when it hit me of, yo, you have to be yourself. Thank you, because you genuinely helped me out. I'm
gonna cry.
You have to be honest. You gotta be honest with yourself, and I think that's something that really needs to be spread more. And I guess one last question for you is, how was it? I'm kind of like, what it's called code switch, right? Code switch.
Yes.
When was it kind of, not like a specific moment, but how did you kind of get out of that phase? Because that's like a phase of part of your life. You have to code switch.
For sure. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually feel like I was really never like, I mean, when it comes to like, retail working, like doing that booty like retail work that you don't want to be in at Gap, Old Navy, wherever it is, that's when it comes along, because at the end you are dealing with customers head on, right? But that's not your life. So that was probably really the only environment where I allowed myself to bring out my like service voice on. Anything outside of that, I tried my hardest to just be truly myself, because I think I wasn't even like anything like huge or drastic that triggered it. But at the end, whether you're working that 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 9, even being in the advertising agency or just in the world of media, how long can you hold up a facade, right? And if you go into that interview and show them that facade, don't you have to keep up with that for however long you're going to be working at that respected organization?
And they can sense it's fake. Easily.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm going to tell you this. When you mentioned about the whole interviewing, I don't prepare for interviews. I don't, like, the most I do in terms of research is just like knowing which freaking company I'm working for. I'll learn about like their mission, their values. That's it. Client, all that. What projects they've done. No, that'll naturally come up. And I do that on purpose, because it's like, if I'm putting in more factors and putting in more insights, inputs in my own brain, then naturally that like other side of Samiha is gonna pop out when like she doesn't need to be there. It should be authentic, 110% Samiha, because at the end of the day, these people want to work with you. They will work with you for you. So to answer your question, I really don't think there was anything there in my life that was necessarily triggering, that was the spearhead of this like movement of being yourself. No, it's just why would I also want to be fake and act when at the end, this is my job, this is my career, these are the people that I'm going to be working with for God knows how long. So that's what it really was. It's just realizing, yo, I'm going to probably drop 60 hours with these people. They're going to see the real me, period. And if they don't want to work with me, they don't want to work with me. Same thing as dating. If you want to be with someone, you better give them 110% of you. Not even 100, but 110 to see if they really can deal with that. Because you don't want to tolerate people, and they shouldn't have to tolerate you. That's it.
Like when you bring up dating, if you just think about like when you go on a date, you don't look up the person's like Instagram, Facebook, and like stalk them and try to find everything about them. No, you just go in and just see if you guys click. You guys don't, you move on.
Exactly. And that's the exact same thing with work.
Exactly it. Samiha, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. This was an amazing episode. I loved it.
This was so fun. I appreciate it, Nick. Thank you.
All right, and so this is going to wrap up the episode today. I just want to say a big shout out to Nuriel, who has co-hosted these episodes with me in the past, and right now he's graduated, and right now you're graduating too, so that's crazy.
I know. I will miss you and everything about this. You're doing
Thank
great
you.
work with this.
And thank you for being a great person, and like the biggest thing is I reached out to you when you had no reason to kind of like help me out. I was kind of like a stranger to you, and the fact that you were one of the first people to kind of like take me under your wing, like, hey, life isn't so bad, let's talk this out. College just kind of like this is the first thing that you said to me. We all have no idea what we're doing.
We don't. We're all. I know I just talked about being fake and how much I hate it, but at the end, we're all fake. None of us know what we're doing. No one knows.
And that's stuck with me for now. It's gonna stay with me forever. So thank you for that, Samiha.
Of course. No, thank you.